So I'm EePing. I'm from Singapore. I'm the co-founder of Kids Global and an organization called IB Academy. Kids Global, we've operated a preschool in Hangzhou, China, for the past, well, I guess from 2010 to 2020, and COVID happened. So now I'm based back in Singapore. So anyways, yeah, I got to know Ting in Hangzhou. Been working on invention education since 2018. And you know, I'm very thankful for the program. I think it's very meaningful. I'm still working on it. Prior to that, I spent 10 years working as a business technology consultant. So in short, I think I can say that I'm a technologist, educator, and an entrepreneur wannabe, all rolled into one.
Great.
So that's me.
Good. All right. Ting?
Hi, this is Ting. I'm living in China, and as EePing just introduced, we knew each other in Hangzhou, China, and we created the invention convention in China. And now we are working on some very interesting projects and some research projects. It is open to 3 to 8 years old families. And since EePing is also working and expertised in this area, so I invited EePing together with me to have a talk and give this very valuable time slots to show what would be very important in 3 to 8 years old families or young learners families. We think that may be quite useful for parents, not only for parents in Singapore and China, but maybe also useful for parents outside our two countries. So that is why we are here, to talk about our experiences and our thinkings.
Great. And I see another person who's on the screen.
Well, I think that is mistaken her as a presenter.
Okay. All right. Great. So, how are you going to divide up what you're sharing with us tonight? Tell us what you're excited about and how you put it together and why you think it would be so valuable.
Yeah, so that is our coming content. So I'm so happy that you are curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are not only to only have this talk together, but also we want to invite in future gift, we want to invite parents and the program designers in this area to talk about their experiences together and share more, to use this as a panel to share more information. So that experiences might be quite interesting, so that we can see the parenting style in different countries and the concept and exercises, the differences among them, and some lessons could learn from each other. So that is what we plan to do in future. Now Great. We want to start, we want to have a start at this gift at the very beginning of this panel. So now EePing, maybe I think you could start. Can I invite you to start from your side?
Well, okay. So I just I'll talk a little bit about what I have done running a preschool for the past 10 years. What we're working on right now. And it was interesting. I mean, I'm really thankful that Ting invited me to be part of this discussion, because for the longest time, at least for the past 10 years, we work directly with children. We've tried
what ages?
Preschool, so it's like between 2 to 6.
Okay.
Mainly. And of course, with invention education, it got extended a little bit. So right now, I'm actually working with students up to 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But predominantly for a big part of 2010 to 2020, maybe 80% of my time I work with very, very young kids. We spent a lot of time thinking about how we can help develop learning dispositions, develop and nurture learning dispositions. But we live in Asia, you know, so for a very long time, you see that a big part of parents' expectations, you know, societal expectations are focused on knowledge. So it's interesting. In Kids Global, we used to design our programs such that they follow a learn, do, and apply cycle. Okay, for example, you know, we have a book club where we will share stories with kids, and then we'll be designing activities around the stories, and then eventually do a show and tell, either the form of a drama, or, you know, they'll work on a theme that's along the lines of the story, and make a presentation. So this is what I've been working on. But you know, recently, especially post-COVID, when COVID started, we had to bring a lot of these lessons online. So one of the challenges is that, you know, there's a big part of what the activities that we used to do in person. You know, we've got to figure out how we can make it as immersive or interactive as it is, you know, to do it virtually. But we also start to realize another thing is that a lot of times, so we become like the iPad of the past. You know, we become the nannies. You know, we don't really get the amount of the kind of parents' involvement that we would like. When we had in person, the parents will have to come. They'll have to, you know, participate in activities with their kids. So we start to see this disengage, and it's really quite alarming. We spoke with some parents, and we realized that sometimes, you know, firstly, is, I guess everyone is busy, right? And secondly, a lot of times, it's that parents are not very sure what they can do, you know, especially when we encourage them to do some of these activities at home. So right now, the projects that we are really working on is, we are currently looking at how we can empower parents to become better learning companions with their children. And really, it's quite a big shift in how we look at things. We used to think that we are education focused, and right now we are starting to look at it from being learning focused. You know, so over the past 2 years, we're looking at how we can make learning fun and more accessible. We are looking at how we can be designing programs and activities for parents to participate and engage their children with. So basically that's what we're doing, and a couple of ideas. So one of the ideas that I'm working on is I'm hoping to start a hybrid virtual book club. We think that, you know, really encouraging parents to read with their children is a very important thing. Firstly, to develop a love for reading for the children. It's alarming, you know, how little we read nowadays, you know, and children, they have so many alternatives right now. So we're hoping to revive these, getting the children to love books. So it's going to be like a virtual book club where, you know, we really encourage parents to read with their children. We curate the books. We are starting to develop some original stories, so that in the virtual activity, we will be sharing this. We encourage the parents to attend, so that they learn the story together, and then you know, we'll design suggested activities where they can both do online and offline, so that they spend more quality and meaningful time together. And then there are some ideas about version 2 where we will get the parents to retell the story, maybe taking on different personas of the different characters, or even making up new stories based on the story that they have read. So it's really a lot of the work right now is really focusing on how we can get parents to participate in the learning with their children. Yeah. So basically, you know, that's and yes, we also plan a World of the event. We're looking at planning it. Later when we have time, I could show some like what we have in mind, and if there are interested parties, you know, we hope that we can collaborate so that you know, we can make it a even better event. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what I've been up to.
So have you been engaging parents in the development process of this to get their thoughts about what you're considering and their reaction to it?
So far, I mean, on a small scale, yes. So we've been talking to, because we have been running, you know, especially with the invention program. I work with Nancy. I mean, for those of you who know Nancy in Singapore, I work with Nancy, and recently we just had an invention sprint, and it's interesting because I think we have about half the participants, they are homeschoolers.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been talking to very involved parents, and we've also been talking to some. We have an organization called Dads for Life. So they in Singapore. So they champion, you know, fathers to spend more time with their children, and we've been working with them to find out a little bit more about, you know, what we can do to make it easier for the fathers. I mean, you know, I think we've gone a long way. You know, we now have laws that, you know, that grants more paternal leaves for new fathers and stuff like that. But I think a lot of times, you know, there is awareness or consciousness that we need to do something. So I think where we fill in the gap is that, you know, we at one point of time we thought that, you know, maybe we have we started a Facebook group called helping parents become better educators. And then somewhere along the way, we realized that, you know, parents, I mean, you probably will be, you know, a teacher to your child, you know, for their entire lives, but you know, you don't really replace the role of the educator. And really right now, the more I think about it, the more I think it's really the companionship that's important, the support and stuff like that. So it's, you know, we want to we want to shift the focus from, like, you know, I'm really trying to teach them to learn something, as opposed to, you know, learn with them, you know, giving them the support structure and stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, we've done some work, I guess. You know, I think it's a work in progress, and so right now it's all mashed up. I'm just hoping, you know, one of things I've always been wanting to do is really to help children discover the books, you know. So I'm just, you know, hoping to start from there, and we'll see what we can do.
That's great. Now, do you anticipate this being an online digital format, or actually tangible material?
So the core of it is going to be virtual, but I kind of think of it as in being hybrid. And why do I say that? For example, we are now planning a World Day event, and it's going to be a virtual event where we connect all the children, hopefully around the world, and they will come to maybe present and participate in activities. But we are looking for partners to do some of these offline as well. So leading up to the virtual event, yeah. I guess, yeah.
Okay.
So just a quick overview of what I'm doing. Yeah. So Ting, what about you? I mean,
yeah, EePing,
okay.
I have a question for you. That since after this question, I will talk about my what I am doing. That is, I know that their Singapore education is quite good, and in China, many people think that, well, there are so many we could learn from Singapore, and one of the things is the early child learning framework. It listed different development and children's development frameworks. So I just wonder, can you briefly introduce something of that and how it is related to your program?
Okay, so as I mentioned, firstly, I just want to say that if we've looked at programs around the world, I don't think that there's a better one. I think what is most appropriate. I would say that personally, I find the Singapore's framework pretty well written. The first edition was published in 2003. After 10 years, I think slightly more than 10 years of research. So we sent researchers around the world. We have a revised edition in 2013. So I'm just going to highlight. It's free for download. So anyone can if you're interested can find out more about it. But in short, what it does is that it's a series of 7 books that covers 6 learning areas, 1 overview, and in the framework, what it states is that it has a very clear definition of the kind of outcomes we would like to achieve for children leaving kindergarten, moving on into elementary school, I guess. Here we call it primary 1. The outcomes, it highlights the learning areas, and we've made some significant changes. We took away, for example, very specific, for example, one of the learning areas is called discovery of the world. So instead of like, I'm comparing this with some countries that are like, including China, we don't call it science anymore. And what I really like about it is that if you look at the type of outcomes that we're looking for discovery of the world, the first is that we hope to develop a sense of interest in the world. We hope that our children develop an interest in the world around them. They are interested to find out how things work and why they work this way. But the final outcome that we're looking for is that they develop a positive attitude towards the world around them. So, which is pretty cool, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing that I think for me is a little bit disappointing. I mean, I've worked with early childhood educators, especially in Singapore, especially for the younger ones. This is the part where they completely miss. Apart from the 6 learning areas, we are really focused in developing 6 learning dispositions. And they spell the word praise, right? So the first one is perseverance. The second one is reflectiveness. A is appreciation. I is inventiveness. It's pretty interesting, and S is sense of wonder and curiosity, and E is engagement. Now this is very interesting because I went back to look at the thing, and this is our preschool education framework. When I went back to look at our entire education framework for formal education, it used to be, I remember my time, it used to be critical thinking. Now it's called critical and inventive thinking. So inventiveness is a really big thing, right? And which is why I'm continuing work on invention education because yeah. So I wouldn't say that any framework is better, but I think that when we look at this, it really developing those dispositions will carry you through life, and we really need both parents and educators to understand that these are the values are much more important, because when you fix this, the learning will happen. The knowledge will come. I mean, if you think about it this way, if you develop a love for learning, for example, you probably have less to worry about, whether they figure out the science or not. And as we have seen with invention education, a lot of times students who are engaged, they probably are ahead of the syllabus because
Yeah.
you know they have this need to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, EePing. Since we are talking about the worries, and I think that is quite an interesting topic because many parents are quite worried about their children. And I have met so many Chinese parents that are so worried about their children's development. So that is the topic I want to talk about. Then we have so many experiences from the expert and some educators why parents are still worried about how to raise their child, how to educate their child. Sometimes they have too many choices. They can, for example, a kid just meet some difficulties. Then the parents will think, should I help him? Or should I interrupt him and help him together to solve the problem? Or should I just talk with him? What should the parent choose? So we did a study about that. That is, we think that the children, sometimes parents think that they understand the child, but actually they are not really so understand their child because they don't know what environment or the situation they created for the child is suitable for this child. Then how can they get this information? So we have so many children's development framework, and we use this framework as a database. So to create an algorithm to evaluate child's development, their performance, and their behaviors fluctuation, so that figure out what under different situations, the behavior of this child. That means how they think actively in different situations, so that the children will know, okay, if I want to develop my child's language skills, then I know that the proper situation is to put this child on the, for example, hands-on, to add more hands-on activities for him so that he could think actively. And then the parents will know that what kind of advice from the expert he or she could use, but not just to put the child to the environment that it's the worst case for the children. So that is a study we're working on. And we figure out another thing is that when we do the evaluation, there are so many evaluations, they are just focused on, so for example, the parents and the students will be put into some specific room. And then the children will pass some tasks to figure out their performance. Again, the environment influence impacts the children's performance so much. So it is not the real parenting environment the family has in their daily life. So the activity, all the observation will be recorded by the parents. So it is, we just have the situation evaluation environment that is exactly their parents, their family daily life environment. So the parents and children together to finish some tasks, and then the parents will do the observation records, and still the kids will write down what they discovered or draw what they discovered, and this data will be useful for the algorithm, used for the model to figure out their performance under different situations, but not observed by some expertise people or some expert. So I think that is also very important. Well, I know that our time.
Yeah, you're very close.
Yes.
So I just have a couple of questions. So as you're putting together, it sounds like a questionnaire or a series of guidance documents, or how do you propose to share this with the parents to have them participate and give you feedback and see how it works?
That's quite a good question. When parents and the kids going for this evaluation activity, they have a handbook. This handbook looks like a game book. It's not really so boring. It's very interesting. For example, we have an evaluation activity in museum. That is a silk museum. So this evaluation activity is how they discover different materials that can make silk, or some clothes that make silk. Then the children will use this handbook to find the task exhibits. And then the parents, there would some questions, and the parents will discover how children behave on the way. So they use the handbook to record, and the handbook will tell them the first step is where, and the second step is doing something like that. And all these steps covers all kinds of different situations they have in their parenting life every day. So after the activity, they gave us back their form, the handbook. Actually, they consider it as a game book. And this is the raw data. And we have some process to put this raw data to the real observation data, and then match that to different kinds of development indicators. And the algorithm will start to work on calculating their performance and their fluctuation and all the factors we need. Then we will give the parents a report to show what would be the better situation or worse situation for their children to develop some certain domain development.
Wow. So, and how many parents do you engage in the process, or how many are you currently working with, or do you think you'll be able to support?
Well, actually, we provide this evaluation model to our partners. We're working to the organizations. They're providing this evaluation. They merge this evaluation to their programs, and then they provide to their customers. So you can consider it as an evaluation plugin.
Mm-hmm.
With this specific observation data, we can have the report on the information they want to know. So they just put this plugin stuff into their programs and give us their observation data from the parents. Then they will have the full report of parenting environment suggestions.
Okay. Ping wants to share the screen. So I gave you permission. I think you can.
Okay. Yeah. So Ting I'm just going to ask Ting a few questions. Sorry. So Ting, it's very interesting what you're doing. So right now, I mean, is the system ready for? As in, how can I work with you on this? If I'm interested.
Yeah, that is quite simple. So the whole system is already ready that for the report and everything. So if you want to put this evaluation part into your program, then give me your program design and the domains you want to evaluate, because we use different frameworks in different countries, right? So there must be some domains, some development domains you want to evaluate. And then I will use your domain, your framework in your country as a database. So, and your activities, I will tell you that what kinds of information I need to have, you need to collect. So you need to, in your program, collect this kind of data, and all this data will come back to us. So it's quite easy because it is your activity, and the data, I just tell you what kinds of data I want to collect, and you will merge these things into your program and give me your data.
Right. And
I
you
think it's quite simple, yes.
Okay. So the reports are actually for parents.
Yes, the report is helping the parents to better understand their child and to see what kinds of, for example, if they want to develop the reasoning and logic skills for their children. So what they see the report is that the suggested environment would be communication sessions. But the most not recommended situation is individual task session. Then the parents may need to search more programs, have more communication sessions for the children, because the children may think more actively than in individual task session. And since the students will think more, the kids will think more actively and will access more, exercise more, practice more. So that would be much easier for the student to build the reasoning and logic skill. I think the concept behind is quite simple, just like how the brain develops, because at this young age, especially younger than 5 years old, the brain is just growing. And so every parenting actions will affect the brain's growing process. I think that is quite important for parents to really know their child.
Right, right. I have a question. Families are quite small with like 1 or 2 children, right?
Yes.
And so they don't have a lot of comparison, or have multiple children to watch and see how they grow and develop differently. Do you think that has an impact on the parents' concerns or their feelings that they're not in touch? Or
I think that is a topic that many parents are quite interested, because they have 3 or 4 and more children. And actually, I don't know which would be the good advice or better practice for the parents in different families, because they have totally different situations.
Right, right.
So what we can help is we help the parents to know their child, the best situations for their single child, so that when the child met a difficult, they know how to deal with that. For example, there's a very interesting example of my own boy. He is a 6 years old boy and now almost 7, and he likes to play drum, and he can play himself quite well. But one day I find out that when he practicing drum, he's not very seriously taking that, and just you can see that he is just not thinking, and seems that not thinking everything, just the practice like a machine, but not really practicing, not really involved in that. So I'm quite curious why you like that, but you are not really practicing. And I reminded him many times, still not get the situation better. So I'm quite angry and tell him, you have to practice that seriously, otherwise you don't practice that. But after that, sometimes later, suddenly I remember that the situation is I have this evaluation for my boy, and when going to some art related work, my boy is suitable for group sessions, but not individual sessions. So I asked him, you want to play well, you want to practice well, right? He said yes. And I asked him, you want me to accompany with you to practice together, right? And my boy suddenly cried out, and he said, yes, I want you to be together with me. So, but later I just sit beside him and count the rhythms, but not really practice. But he was so indulged later. And I feel that I really feel bad at that time. I should understand him. He's not the one, don't want to practice, but just he met some difficulties. He want to get a pace of 130 per minute, but he could not reach that pace, but he really want to have that speed. So he met some difficulties and want to overcome that difficulty. But the individual session is not good for him if he met this difficulty and he cannot overcome that yet. But when I sit beside him, he has maybe more activity thinking or things like that, but he just trying to do that once again. So I think that is a very good example why we should create the right situation, parenting situation for the kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That was really informative. Thank you. So, are you going to be sharing or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would like to share, as I was describing, and you asked the question whether it's going to be online or so we are planning this. I hope we pull it off. I'm just going to share. This is still in concept, and we are a little bit behind time, but I'm just going to quickly share. So this is so we're planning to do an Earth Day initiative. It's called We for Earth. And the whole purpose of this is we're trying to connect youth around the world to raise awareness and take action for a sustainable future. Now, this is going to be a virtual event. Let me just quickly show the. So we are hoping to kick off on World Earth Day itself, April 22nd. And this, I think, will be, right now it's planned to be a virtual event, but there are some talks about having some sections of it being in person. For example, there's a sing-along, we're trying to get a choir to come together. We're hoping that, kids around the world will be able to zoom in and join with the singing. But you can see we actually have some pre-event activities, and these are going to be in person as well. So we have a few concepts. The first one is that we are 10 years ago we wrote a story about our character, doing taking actions to save the earth. We are relaunching that story. We're going to run interactive storytelling. So this is going to be a virtual session where, it's kids 3 to 12 years old, their parents can come. We are going to hold talks about the UN SDGs to look at ways we can to understand, the sustainability goals. I'm trying to connect with students with inventions that address sustainability issues. We're happy to showcase them. Reduce, recycle, refuse, and reuse is actually, we are holding workshops to teach people how to recycle their old garments into useful shopping bags. So these are things that we're doing offline. If we get enough numbers, we are looking at, hopefully holding an auction for those bags, something like that. Yeah. So this is an example of am I showing are you able to see the screen?
We can see the screen, but your voice is going in and out.
I just wonder.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wonder if we took too much time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Julie said that our next folks are having a little bit of trouble joining. So it's exciting that we can allow you to continue to share. Ting, do you have anything more to share?
Yeah, actually we have so many to share, but just afraid that we took too much time, so I just asked.
No.
Okay.
What you're talking about is very interesting and important.
Yeah.
So please go on.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I was thinking, oh no, I'd have to tell them to stop, and then Julie put in the chat that the next group is having some trouble. So I'm like, all right. So
Okay,
yeah, it sounds like you're really doing a lot of varied and interesting projects, as well as thinking of new things and working.
Yeah, I'm lucky because usually I talk too much.
Well, join the club. I think that's part of all our excitement about learning and creativity.
Yeah, and I want to share another story why we want to how we started this research. That is how EePing and I knew each other before, because one EePing in Hangzhou, my city, and he had a preschool. My boy was in his preschool. And one day I find out that I don't understand my boy. He told me that, Mom, I want to eat more. I told him that, okay, please eat. And he said that, but I cannot eat more. And this conversation just appears several times. And I just quite get confused. Do you want to eat more or not? And finally, I figured out that he wants to eat more because he thinks that the food should not be wasted. But he's really full. He could not eat more. So that's why we have that conversation. And I find out that understanding my boy is very important. Otherwise, I don't know what he really means. So I searched on so many studies on children's behavior and things like that, and I find out a very good one, a framework. And since I have the algorithm background, so I just put that framework to the algorithm so that we can have the data. We can see the real data. And then when we have the data, we can see the trend and how the way the children goes. Then I turn the help for EePing. I think that maybe my kids' school can help me to give me a place to do the practice to see whether the children's behavior development can be really observed as data and process this data to have the portrait of this kid. So that is the beginning of the knowing each other process for me and EePing. We start to know each other.
Great.
And then we did a very first experiment and feel that the model works very well. And we discovered so many useful informations. I think that is about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. So that is a very big.
2018, I think. Yeah.
Okay,
so Ting was a very involved parent, well, she was involved enough to come to Dearborn. Yeah, so so she went to NIC 2018. Did you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, everyone is frozen again, man.
No, it's not burden. Yeah, just the thinking, so we find out that at that time it is the first time we realized that there are many research on how parents should about the parenting styles, just like we have positive parenting suggestions for a parent, there are 4 types of parents for the parenting styles, for example. But sometimes what I want to figure out what would be the environment impact on the kids, I find out the research I can find was not that much. I think maybe one reason is that we don't have enough data to support this kind of research. Then how can we have this data? That comes to another question in my mind, because I have the algorithm background. I used to work for the German Aerospace Center. So I start to think about that and figure out a way how to model the observations to the data and how to model this data to the performance. So that is a very beginning at the Kids Global in China. And then this research continues. So that is why I'm thinking that it might be quite important in the research in parenting. And we would love to share our data and project designings. I think EePing also would love to share how to develop the programs for early families, right? Mm-hmm. So if anyone wants to share their experiences or their programs related to this region, this area, so we would love to talk with each other and join us to develop more data, and so that I think that may benefit everyone.
Great. Well, this has been incredibly exciting, and it sounds like you'll have to sign up for more times and get more information out there, and let us know how your progress is going on. I'd be very interested to see, how many parents participate in the reading and interacting, and how you populate your database going forward, and how you are able to sort of put all that information into advice or, directions or something for parents to follow. It'll be very interesting to see. It's kind of exciting. Our next person is here, so I would like to thank you so much. This has been great, and really happy that we had the extra time. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us more time, and thank you for the presenters waiting for.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye. Bye, Michelle. Bye, Jake.